The following video is one in a series on spiritual resilience training, a non-religious view of personal values and their dynamics with others. The contents reflect a variety of principles and practices of systems theory in relational counseling for team building and family resilience. Although the series is intended to support Army Corps values, each video also encourages the viewer to reflect on their current prominent values in specific situations and to consider what values may be more appropriate to means and results that are honorable and helpful with others. Chaplain Dillard initiates creating and posting these videos. Their contents and YouTube's linked videos do not necessarily reflect specific beliefs, practices, requirements, or endorsements of the Department of Defense, its subordinate organizations, or other groups with which Chaplain Dillard is affiliated.
Welcome back. Hopefully you saw the previous video, which kind of explains how competing values come to be. If you haven't seen that, please go back and watch it. We won't cover that again. I do want to give you a couple of examples of what wrong can look like before we move on to what right can look like. You remember our picture of the guys doing the tug of war on the island there and the gators and the sharks underneath. Well, here's an example of perceived competing values. Let's say that I want more care in my marriage, but I believe my spouse wants more control because I see them pointing at me, gritting their teeth, bringing up my past failures, when in fact they really want safety, their own emotional safety, by my better planning. Now there's a lot of ways that I could respond to this. Here's some examples of how I might respond poorly and how it could go when we tug in different directions. Let's say I admit little to no fault to avoid more attacks, but they perceive that I'm not hearing them, so they intensify their attack. I perceive their increased volume, animation, and greater words as hatred for me, and I walk out. I have just let go of the rope. They begin to feel their free fall and panic or rage, and they pursue me so that I will grab the rope again. If I don't grab the rope, their part of the relationship will sink or swim alone. If I do grab the rope again, we may pull until it snaps or one of us reaches exhaustion. But either way, the tug against each other will eventually be a lose-lose. Now, you can look at that picture or remember it in your mind and see how all that could play out. When it feels like right is pulling for our way and them pulling for their way, it's always a lose-lose, because if I get my way, I'm alone. I've disrespected the other person. I have violated what they believe is good. Whether I have an accurate understanding of what they actually value or not is beside the point. I have won, and by my winning, we have both lost. If they win because they're smarter, more persevering, they've got certain things on their side, maybe they're more convincing or they're more emotional, whatever. If they win and they get their way, they've alienated me, or they've one-upped me in the relationship, and it's still a lose-lose because the possible equality has been violated, and it's much more difficult to be unified, whatever type of relationship that is. Now, here's an example of an actual competing values. Let's say I want recognition and my perfectionism in a meeting with my boss, but my boss wants information on what I've not yet done in a major project for their leadership from this point forward. Now, you can plug in any types of roles for that, but you can see how these are truly competing values. If I'm going to be recognized for my perfectionism, but yet they want to know my shortcomings, we can't have it both ways. So, and my perfectionism might work for me sometimes. Now, we're never perfect, we never do anything absolutely perfectly, but it could make me a very hard worker, it could give me attention to detail, it could make me motivated, and wanting to be recognized could make me want to be in greater relationship with people, so I get that recognition. Neither one of them is always healthy, and I want to admit that, and those are not necessarily things that I value, but this is an example. And supervisors certainly need information in order to lead well. But we can't have those things always coexisting. So this is how that could go poorly. I could present only other people's shortcomings and present my progress in order to garner my recognition. And there's a couple possibilities. My boss could take my shift of focus and address the other people on the team to get information about them so that my boss can lead well. And then there's still a couple of possibilities. I could sit back a little relieved, but leave stressed because my apparent perfection is hollow. Or I could offer to work with the other people, but also leave stressed because I know that I was fishing for recognition. Here's another possibility. They might see through my whitewash and ask me for more information about my duties. And I might admit my shortfalls and leave stressed because now my imperfection is visible. Or I could minimize my shortfalls and be stressed because I'm wondering, will they see my imperfections later? Or even a third possibility. What if my boss only listens for information and gives no feedback to anyone? I leave stressed then because I don't know what to think or what to do next. Or I could stress and follow up with my boss, chase them down and press them for some more feedback. Any way I look at it, if I'm tugging for what I want because I either perceive or I'm in actual competition for something that they value differently than what I want, it can be a lose-lose if it's a tug of war. Hope that makes sense to you. If you want to see what right can look like, tune in next week and we'll conclude this short series on competing values. I think this is important because it's common. We all have things that we love, and we're in relationship with people who don't think exactly as we do, don't value exactly what we do, or in the way that we do, or in the timing that we do. So it's important to be able to see the other person for what they are and for what they want, and to learn to climb to common ground for common goals. Hope you'll tune in next week, and I'll see you then.
At the release date of this video, I am stationed with Research Development and Engineering Command, RDECOM, at Aberdeen Proving Ground, Maryland. Because the majority of our personnel are in this area, I spend most of my time here. I do, however, travel to our distant units based on command priorities and budget. I place these videos on YouTube for broad visibility to Army personnel and their families, but I hope the videos will be helpful to others too. If you are assigned to RDECOM and want to request specific topics by video, training on site or by VTC, or confidential counseling on site or by secure webcam, you can contact me at jeffrey.d.dillard.mil@mail.mil.